Once upon a time there was a little boy called Silly Billy. It was a Tuesday afternoon, the sort of typical Tuesday that smelled faintly of burnt toast and damp socks. Silly Billy had raided Gran's biscuit tin and eaten every red jellybean, leaving only the blue ones behind. Gran, ever the diplomat, handed him a single red jellybean and said, "Plant it, Billy. See what grows." Mum, scrubbing a spoon suspiciously sticky with jam, muttered, "Or see what doesn't." Dad, crouched over the toaster that had started firing crumpets like cannonballs, added, "If it sprouts, I'll eat my hat, or at least the crusts." Billy dashed into the garden, clutching the jellybean like treasure. Jock the cockerel strutted beside him, bossy as ever. "Plant it deep, Billy boy. If sweets grow on trees, I'm claiming the top branch." Sulky the cat lounged nearby, unimpressed. He'd seen Billy plant socks before. Nothing sprouted except confusion. Billy dug a hole with Grandad's old spoon, dropped the jellybean in, and gave it a ceremonial splash from the watering can. "There," he said. "Now we wait." Jock nodded solemnly. "Patience is a virtue. Though I prefer pudding." That night Billy dreamt of jellybean jungles and licorice ladders. He woke sticky, not from sweets, but from the jam he'd rolled into during sleep. Mum sighed, Dad muttered something about fruit of the loom, and Gran chuckled knowingly. By morning, the garden bulged suspiciously. The flowerbed looked like it had swallowed a pudding whole. Billy tiptoed outside and gasped. A giant toe poked out of the soil. Not a root. Not a tuber. A toe. With a jellybean stuck between the nails. The earth trembled, and up rose a towering figure covered in candy wrappers, smelling faintly of sherbet. He yawned, stretched, and said, "Got any more?" Billy grinned. "I've got a whole tin." The Jellybean Giant beamed. "Then I'm yours." Mum dropped her teacup. Dad dropped his toast. Sulky didn't drop anything, but his tail twitched in disapproval. Jock squawked, "Careful what you wish for. He might be soft-scented." The Jellybean Giant was hungry. Not for porridge or pies, but for sweets. He lumbered into the kitchen, ducking under the doorway, and sniffed. "Sherbet? Fudge? Toffee?" Mum folded her arms. "We don't keep giants in the pantry." Dad, pencil behind his ear, muttered, "We barely keep me in the pantry." Gran, ever resourceful, produced a tin of biscuits. The giant devoured them in one gulp. "More," he boomed. "I've got a sweet tooth." Grandad peered over his glasses. "Looks like you've got 32 of them, actually." Billy giggled. "He's a sweet man." Jock crowed, "He's a sugar daddy." Mum nearly dropped her tea, while Dad coughed into his sleeve. Billy didn't understand why everyone laughed so hard, but he joined in anyway. Sulky flicked his tail. Humans, always amused by the wrong things. The giant's appetite grew. He ate jelly beans, marshmallows, and even Gran's lemon drizzle cake. Gran wagged her finger. "That was meant for Sunday tea." The giant shrugged. "I'm a growing boy." Dad muttered, "Growing sideways, more like." Mum sighed. "Billy, you can't just feed him sweets. He'll rot." Billy frowned. "Rot? Like compost?" Jock clucked. "Exactly. And then we'll have a compost heap with teeth." The giant tried to help around the house. He washed dishes but broke 3 mugs. He swept the floor but knocked over the lamp. He folded laundry but wore Mum's cardigan. "It suits me," he said proudly. Mum raised an eyebrow. "It stretches me." Dad chuckled. "At least he's not wearing my trousers." Billy giggled. He'd need a tent. By evening, the giant collapsed in the armchair, groaning. "Too many sweets." Mum shook her head. "You need balance." Billy thought hard. "Like a seesaw." Jock clucked. "Like a diet." Sulky purred. "Like a nap." Gran smiled. "Like life." Word spread quickly. A giant in Billy's garden. Soon the neighbors gathered, peering over the fence. Mrs. Peabody from next door tutted, "He'll trample my begonias." Mr. Jenkins muttered, "He'll eat my licorice all sorts." The giant waved cheerfully, Jellybean stuck in his beard. "Hello." The neighbors gasped. "He talks." Billy grinned. "Of course he talks. He's not a vegetable." Jock clucked. "Though he's full of beans." The giant followed Billy into the village. He tried to squeeze into the sweet shop but got stuck in the doorway. "Too narrow," he grumbled. The shopkeeper panicked. "You'll eat me out of house and humbugs." Billy giggled. "He's a sweet customer." Adult smirked at the double meaning. Sulky rolled his eyes. "Humans. Always punning." At the park, the giant joined the children on the seesaw. It snapped in half. "Oops," he said. "I'm heavy." Billy laughed. "You're full of jelly." Jock crowed, "He's full of himself." Gran arrived with biscuits. "You need to share." The giant nodded solemnly and handed out jelly beans. Children squealed with delight. Adults muttered about dental bills. Grandad chuckled. "Every sweet has its price." Chaos spread. The giant tried to play football but swallowed the ball. He attempted hopscotch but cracked the pavement. He joined the choir but sang off-key. "I'm tone deaf," he admitted. Mum sighed. "You're everything deaf." Dad chuckled. "At least he's not blind to fun." Billy giggled. "He's a giant joke." By sunset, the village was sticky with sweets. Benches dripped with fudge, swings tangled with licorice, and ducks waddled through treacle. The giant beamed. "Best day ever." Mum shook her head. "Worst laundry ever." Gran winked. "Sweet memories, though." Billy hugged the giant. "You're my best friend." Jock clucked. "Second best." The giant grew restless. "I need more sweets," he said. "Bigger ones." Billy frowned. "Bigger than Gran's cake." The giant nodded. "Bigger than the village." Mum sighed. "You can't stay here forever." Dad added, "We can't afford the sugar." Gran smiled gently. "Every story has an ending." Grandad chuckled. "Even sweet ones." Billy's heart sank. "But you're my friend." The giant knelt, his eyes kind. "I'll always be your friend." But giants belong where sweets grow wild. Jock clucked. "Like a Candyland." Sulky purred. "Like a dentist's nightmare." The giant laughed. "Exactly." Together, they walked to the edge of the village. The giant waved goodbye, jelly beans falling from his pockets. Children scrambled to collect them. Adults muttered about cavities. Billy hugged him tightly. "Don't forget me." The giant smiled. "Impossible. You planted me." With that, he strode into the horizon, leaving a trail of sugar clouds. Back home, the garden was quiet. The flowerbed no longer bulged. Mum hugged Billy. "You grew more than a giant. You grew up." Dad ruffled his hair. "And you grew chaos." Gran handed him a biscuit. "And you grew memories." Grandad winked. "And you grew questions." Sulky flicked his tail. "And you grew noise." Jock clucked. "And you grew fun." Billy smiled. "I grew love." Mum kissed his cheek. "That's the sweetest of all." And the moral of the story is, sometimes the smallest seeds grow the biggest surprises.